remember when hosting the Oscars was a big deal. It was an honor for a celebrity to host Hollywood's biggest show, and the big celebrities were all thrilled to do it. People like Bob Hope, Johnny Carson, Steve Martin, Billy Crystal.
Jimmy Kimmel is back as host for next year's Oscars. It's going to be his third time doing it, but is it really worth it? With the ratings down and people critically watching every move the host makes, one bad joke and you're done. With us is media, entertainment, and pop culture expert Jacquie Jordan. Thank you so much for joining us. So does the risk outweigh the benefit for someone like Jimmy Kimmel to host the Oscars?
That's such a great question. Such a great question, Robin Charles. I think, first off, I think the timing of announcing Jimmy Kimmel for the Oscar host is just really perfect because he's been in the news the last couple of days, and it's kind of been, political centric. Saying that he admits he lost some viewers because he did a series of Trump jokes, and he doesn't regret that. And then, of course, his wife stepped on to do the monologue for abortion rights. And so and then Donald Trump took some shots at him at a recent rally at Jimmy Kimmel, saying their show was dead, and Jimmy Kimmel shot back. So the timing of the announcement I find very, very interesting. But what is so interesting about the Oscars, I think both of you gentlemen would agree, it's like you can be a comedian, but the very thing that the Oscars is kind of politicizing, you could actually fall on your sword and be canceled yourself. So it's kind of this like literally a double-edged sword to be the host of the Oscars at this time.
So why does somebody like Kimmel need to do it? I mean, I don't know how much he makes, but I'm sure he's not wanting for money, and he's got a show that has high visibility on ABC. So since there's so much downside risk, and what's the upside? So more people in, I don't know, Venezuela get to watch him because it's telecast all over the world. That's not going to help him long run, is it?
Well, I used to be the showrunner for an industry show called Sunday Morning Shootout that ran on AMC, and Peter Guber of Sony and Mandalay was the host, as well as Peter Bart, who was the editor-in-chief at the time of Variety. So it was a very industry insider show. The Hollywood industry really loves their own prestige. And I think hosting the Oscars is still a industry prestige, even if it's no longer holds the same glitter and gold for the public. I think the public is just kind of bored with the antics of it and not so interested in it, but it's very prestigious. Like I'd be happy to win an Academy Award given the opportunity. So I think that's why people with talented people who have lots of success like Jimmy Kimmel still step up and do it.
I seem to recall, and you can refresh my memory, that there have been instances where someone was kind of tapped or maybe talked about as hosting the Oscars, and that personality said, no, thank you. Don't want to do it because it's too risky. If I mess up, my career is done. How often do you think that happens behind the scenes that we don't hear about?
Oh, I think it happens a lot. I think, that's what cancel culture is, a double-edged sword for Hollywood itself. And comedians have had a really rough go in the last couple of years. Things that would have been considered funny are now considered politically incorrect and very offensive. And also for something like the Academy Awards, the jokes are written by entire teams. So, it's not only just the face of the host goes down on the sword, the whole entire, writing department goes down. Do you know Carrie Fisher used to be on the Academy Awards writing team? I always found that. Yeah. Huh. I always found that to be very, she's, because she used to be so, when she was alive, used to be very funny, but she used to be part of that writing team.
So if you were giving advice to, and maybe you will, to Jimmy Kimmel, does he lean into the political side of him and just say, oh, the heck with it, let's just go for it?
I think so. I think one of the most memorable host opening speeches was the one from Ricky Gervais, who did the People's Choice? No, it was the Golden Globes. And he did that opening monologue that was so irreverent because he's British. He could kind of get away with it. He played off of that. And I thought that was, I think it was irreverent. I mean, it was probably very insulting for the industry insiders, but the public Loved it.
You mean
I mean,
you mean he can get away with it because being British, he sounds better whatever he says? Is that it?
Well, yeah,
I guess that's it.
So there's some reason that does go a long way.
Well, I think in his case, though, I mean, because he did get some pushback. Some celebrities were not very happy about the things he said. But Ricky Gervais has built his career on being that person. So when he gets that response, that's the response he's going for. And I think it depends on, who the host is. I know that sometimes people have said that for the Oscars, a comedian is good, but you really want someone with talk show host experience. So Jimmy Kimmel fits both bills. He's a comedian and he's a host, but that doesn't always work because I recall many years ago, David Letterman, who is, I think, fantastic, did not look so successful hosting the Oscars and got pushed back and made fun of for his Oprah Uma bit that he did. So sometimes it depends on the host and what kind of comedy they're known for.
And I think it also has to do with just the flavor and the mood. Like I think you can be so funny and it still maybe not work at the award ceremony. I'm thinking, who was this? Was it Seth MacFarlane who hosted as well not too long ago? And he had some provocative. He did that opening monologue. He talked about all the topless actresses. They did that opening song. Remember that one?
Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. That
we have brain fog from COVID.
Well, that was a memorable Academy Award moment, about it. And then people were talking about that for weeks. And it was, it was definitely risque and it was not typically Academy Awards. But what makes the Academy Awards really special is it was supposed to be, it was set up as like a very high class, prestigious, top of the line cinema awards, and it just kind of it's not been able to hold that panache anymore. So I think it's just a hard job overall. I mean, look how many times Ellen ended up hosting it.
Oh yeah.
And like you said, to your point, she's a comedian with talk show hosting experiences. And, it is not easy, having been a former talk show producer myself, it is not easy to host a live show, ins, outs, intros, walk-ons, walk-offs, keep it moving, keep the joke like that. People don't understand the amount of talent that it takes. And it does require someone of Jimmy Kimmel's talent to be able to manage that.
Sitting here, I just realized, guys, that's two things that didn't happen to me today. I didn't win the $2 billion jackpot, and I'm not hosting the Oscars. It's two things.
You kind of feel like your life is over now, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I got up in the morning, I was fine. But
now you're not.
Two things I'm not doing.
All right. So tomorrow on In Depth, Charles Feldman's going to be extremely depressed.
Yeah.
Because his life is worthless now. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Jacquie Jordan, who was a media, entertainment, and pop culture expert. I have offered to host the Oscars before. I know that sometimes they were concerned about how much money they had to spend for an Oscar host. I offered to do it for $5,000.
I'm guessing it was a quick no, though?
I never even heard back from them. So I'm incredibly insulted by that. And okay. I refuse to host the Oscars in the future. We'll never do it.
You're on record saying that now.
Exactly.
You can't take that back.
Unless they call me, in which case I'll change my mind.